I let my brother move into our family cabin after his divorce. I even transferred the utilities to his name to help him feel stable. Then I got a letter from a lawyer. He'd filed a quiet title claim and was trying to legally steal it. I called him in shock, and he said, "You never deserved that place." I did what had to be done. I drove there that night, but what I found in the fireplace changed everything. I'm Mark. I'm 44 years old and live in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. My parents bought a cabin near Hayden Lake in the late 80s. It was old school, one story, no internet, creaky wooden floors, and a stone fireplace my dad built himself. It was never about luxury. It was about family. My brother Craig is 3 years younger than me. He used to be my best friend. When we were kids, we did everything together, fishing off the dock, hiking in the pines, helping Dad chop wood. But we grew up and Craig changed. Or maybe I just stopped making excuses for him. Craig always wanted the easy way out. In high school, I worked summers with Dad's construction crew. Craig sold knockoff CDs in the school parking lot and got suspended twice. I kept my nose clean. He pushed limits. I started my own home renovation company at 25. Craig jumped between jobs, insurance, car sales, even MLM scams. Last fall, Craig called me late one night. He was crying. His wife Tessa kicked him out. Caught him cheating. He said she was being dramatic, that it was just texting. I didn't believe him, but I didn't press. Divorce messes people up. He said he had nowhere to go. I said he could stay at the cabin. It was still in both our names, even though I was the only one who ever paid property tax or did maintenance. He didn't even ask. Just said, "Can I go there for a while?" I said, "Yeah, of course." He moved in the next weekend. I helped him clean it up, hauled furniture in my truck, brought tools to fix the leaking faucet. I even transferred the power and water bills into his name. I figured if he paid utilities, it would give him some structure, maybe help him stabilize. At the time, I felt good about it. Felt like I was helping my brother pick himself up. 6 months later, I got a letter in the mail from a law office in Spokane. I opened it at my kitchen table like any other piece of mail. It hit me like a punch to the gut. Craig had filed a quiet title claim on the cabin. He was trying to get full legal ownership, saying I had abandoned it and he'd been living there and maintaining it alone. He was trying to steal it. I called the number on the letter. Got his lawyer's assistant. She confirmed it. Yes, Mr. Craig Reynolds has filed for quiet title on the property located at. I hung up and called Craig immediately. He actually answered. I didn't yell. I just asked, "What the hell is this?" He paused. Then he said, calm as anything, "You never deserved that place. I did what had to be done. That was it." I stared at the phone in my hand, in total shock. I sat there for a long time, just frozen. Then I grabbed my keys and drove to the cabin. It's a 2-hour drive. I didn't tell anyone where I was going. I got there a little after midnight. The porch light was off. His car was parked out front. The house was dark. I used the old spare key hidden under the porch. He hadn't changed the locks. I walked in and immediately smelled smoke. There was a low fire still burning in the fireplace. But what caught my eye was a pile of ash on the grate, more than just wood. Something else had been burned. A lot of something. I walked closer. The fire was almost out, just a few red embers. I grabbed the poker and started moving the ash around. I saw pieces of envelopes. Torn paper. Burned but not completely gone. I leaned in and saw my name. My name. On the mail. There were fragments of documents. Electric bills, county tax records, old letters from the bank. I saw a burned corner with the county seal on it. It hit me all at once. He'd been stealing my mail. Burning it. Anything with my name tied to the cabin. He was trying to erase me. I took pictures. Collected what I could in a Ziploc bag from the kitchen. I didn't wake him up. I didn't want to look at him. I left without saying a word. The next day, I went straight to a lawyer. I explained everything. Showed her the letter, the burned mail, the utility bills I'd transferred, and the will from our dad that left the cabin to both of us. She told me something I'll never forget. He has a shot. Even though he was lying, even though he hadn't paid a dime in taxes, if he could convince a judge I wasn't involved and that he had been using it alone and maintaining it, he might win. I felt sick. I realized I had helped him build the whole case against me. Transferring the utilities, not visiting for months, leaving him there alone, it all made me look like I gave up on the place. I wanted to scream. Instead, I got to work. First thing I did was hire a private investigator. I didn't tell Craig. I didn't confront him. I wanted evidence. And I got it. Turns out Craig wasn't living quietly at the cabin like he said. He'd been renting it out on Airbnb. Under a fake name. He had 5-star reviews. People posted pictures of their stays. And guess what? One of the listings said, recent renovations by owner. He claimed he restored the fireplace. He even took credit for my dad's work. Even worse, I recognized one of the women in the listing photos. She was standing on the front deck with Craig. Blonde hair, holding a coffee mug. Not his ex-wife. She was a realtor. That's when I realized they were planning to sell it. He was gonna steal it, flip it, and cash out. I wanted to burn his whole world down. But not with anger. With facts. I handed everything to my lawyer. We filed a response with fraud accusations, mail tampering, and real estate misrepresentation. But I wanted more than to win in court. I wanted him to see it coming. I wanted to drag him into the light. So I set a trap. I made a fake Airbnb guest profile. Messaged him pretending to be a business rep from a company in Seattle looking for a 6-month corporate retreat rental. I offered $9,000 a month. He jumped on it. We arranged a meeting at the cabin. I told him my company's lawyer would need to be there to look at ownership documents. He said, of course, totally standard. What he didn't know, I was bringing a lawyer. My own. And a sheriff's deputy. And a notary. All ready to blow his lie apart. I got there early. We sat around the kitchen table just like old times, but this time I wasn't the one being fooled. When Craig walked in, he had that fake sales grin on his face. Ready to make some money? He asked. You'll need to prove you own the place, I said, motioning to the deputy and lawyer. His face froze. The deputy asked, Sir, do you have proof of ownership of this property? Craig started to sweat. Well, I'm living here. I've been maintaining it. I filed. But do you own it? Craig looked at me. What is this? I said, This is the part where you stop lying. Then we handed him the folder. Full of documents. Screen grabs. Burned mail photos. Utility bills. Airbnb fraud. The deputy told him, You've got mail tampering and fraudulent listing issues here. You need to stop any further bookings. Now. Craig just stood there, jaw open. He walked out without saying a word. I didn't chase him. I didn't need to. The battle wasn't over, but he knew he'd lost. I thought that moment at the cabin would be the peak. The look on Craig's face when he saw the deputy, the lawyer, the evidence, I thought that would break him. But I underestimated him. Craig didn't go quiet after that. He doubled down. 2 days after the confrontation, I got a call from the county office. A complaint had been filed against me. Said I'd been trespassing, tampering with private mail, and threatening behavior on the property. I asked who filed it. They said they couldn't confirm, but I knew. I laughed out loud when I hung up, then got real quiet. Craig wasn't just trying to win the cabin. He was trying to take me down with it. My lawyer helped me file a counter-notice and a full affidavit with everything we had. But still, the message was clear. He was going to drag me through every mud pit he could find, hoping I'd give up. I didn't. 2 weeks later, I got a surprise visit from Tessa, Craig's ex-wife. She showed up at my job site in work boots and a denim jacket, hair in a ponytail. I barely recognized her. It had been over a year since I saw her last. I heard what he's doing, she said. I nodded slowly. What do you want me to say? She reached into her bag and pulled out a manila folder. I think you need to see this. Inside were printed emails. Dozens. From Craig. All written to her in the months before the divorce. At first, they were begging her to come back. Then, when she refused, they turned bitter. One stood out. He mentioned getting what I should have had years ago and that the cabin is finally mine now that the idiot handed it over. He meant me. I asked her why she brought them. Because he dragged me into court again, trying to change alimony, claiming he's broke. But now I hear he's been Airbnb the cabin under a fake name. I nodded. That's real. I have screenshots, bookings, everything. She smiled a little. Then let's bury him together. I didn't know if I trusted her, but I scanned the documents into my case file anyway. A week after that, the private investigator called. He'd found something else. Apparently, Craig had opened a P.O. box in Spokane. That's where he'd redirected the cabin's mail, my mail. He forged a change of address form, moving all county-related property documents to his box. That explained why I hadn't gotten any notices about property tax deadlines or court dates. He was trying to make it look like I didn't care. We added identity theft to the court response. And still, he pushed. One night, I got home from work and saw tire tracks on my driveway. Deep ones. My garbage bins were knocked over. A rock had been thrown through my shed window. Nothing was stolen. Felt more like a message. I didn't call the police. I just fixed the glass and installed cameras. 3 days later, I caught him on video. 2:13 a.m. Craig walked up to my front porch. Hoodie pulled over his head. He looked right at the camera. Didn't flinch. Then he dropped something in front of the door and walked away. It was a photo of the cabin. But it wasn't the photo that got to me. It was the message written on the back in red Sharpie. You stole my life. I'm taking it back. I showed it to my lawyer. She was alarmed. So was the deputy. But nothing in the photo counted as a direct threat. No charges. Just more pressure. At this point, I wasn't sleeping well. I kept a bat by the bed. I was getting close to snapping. Then came the hearing. The court scheduled a preliminary hearing to go over evidence for the title claim. I knew it wasn't the final trial, but it would set the tone for the case. If the judge believed Craig even a little, things could get worse fast. Craig showed up in a blazer and jeans, hair slicked back. Looked like a damn game show host. I sat there with my lawyer and a folder thick with evidence, photos of burned mail, financial records, Airbnb listings, witness statements, even the emails from Tessa. Craig tried to spin it. Claimed he made major improvements, that I disappeared and that I gave it up by choice. Then the judge asked one simple question: did you ever inform your brother of your intent to take full ownership? Craig stammered. I didn't think I needed to. I lived there. My lawyer stood up and dropped the printout of the Airbnb profile onto the table. Your Honor, the defendant did not simply live there. He turned it into a business. He listed it under a false name, claimed to be the sole owner, and profited from it without the plaintiff's knowledge or consent. The judge's tone changed. Fast. You rented the property while this dispute was unresolved? Craig shrugged. I had to make ends meet. You made $26,000 in 6 months. That's not survival. That's fraud. The hearing ended with the judge setting a trial date and ordering Craig to cease all rental activity immediately. He warned that if any more bookings were found, criminal charges would be considered. Craig glared at me on the way out like I just killed his dog. He walked past, muttered, "This isn't over." I didn't flinch. Because I knew something he didn't. That same week, Tessa was filing her own lawsuit against Craig for hiding income during their divorce. And the realtor? I tracked her down. She'd already dumped him after finding out the truth. But she gave me a signed statement saying Craig told her he owned the cabin free and clear and was looking to flip it for profit. I was stacking the deck. But Craig? He was starting to lose it. A few nights later, someone broke into the cabin. Didn't steal anything? But the place was trashed. Cabinets emptied, couch cushions torn open, framed photos smashed. On the wall, someone had written in black spray paint, "IT was never yours." I sent the photos to the sheriff. The deputy told me, "We're building a case, but don't go there alone." I didn't listen. I went the next night. I brought a camera, a baseball bat, and something else. Something I'd kept quiet about this whole time. I went to the fireplace, and I looked under the loose stone on the left side of the hearth. The one only Dad, Craig, and I knew about. It was our childhood hiding spot. We used to stick little notes there, bottle caps, coins. When we got older, Dad hid his spare keys and paperwork there. I hadn't checked it in years. Inside, wrapped in a moldy cloth, was a small tin box. Inside that box, a memory card. It was labeled, "For Mark. If anything happens." I hadn't seen it before. My hands shook as I put it in my camera. And when I hit play, my world shifted. The video started with a shot of my dad sitting on the old porch swing. He looked tired. This wasn't some family moment. He was alone, filming himself with one of those old Sony camcorders. You could hear the creak of the swing chains, the wind through the trees. He stared at the camera for a while before speaking. "If you're watching this, I'm probably gone. And if you're watching, Mark, it means Craig did what I always feared he might." He rubbed his eyes. Took a long breath. "I always hoped the cabin would bring you boys together. I left it to both of you thinking it'd be a place you could share. But I saw it in Craig early on. The way he twisted things. Took shortcuts. Always had a plan. I warned him years ago, don't ever try to take this place from your brother. He didn't listen. He leaned forward. Mark, I left the real deed in the safety deposit box under your name. The joint title you have, yeah, it's legal. But there's a second deed. One that gives you full ownership. It's not recorded yet. I didn't want to hurt Craig while I was still alive. But if he ever tries to steal it from you, you take that deed and bury him with it. The screen cut to black. I sat there in the cabin, alone, heart pounding. The air felt heavy. I just heard my dead father tell me something I never expected. That cabin was mine. Fully. Not just legally now, but by his own hand. And Craig had no idea. I left the cabin and drove straight to the bank where Dad had his deposit box. I hadn't touched it in years. I still had the key. The clerk verified my ID. Opened the box. Inside, sealed in a plastic sleeve, was the original notarized deed. Signed. Dated. And a handwritten letter from Dad confirming everything on the video. That night, I gave copies of the video and deed to my lawyer. She almost dropped her coffee. This changes everything. Craig had filed a quiet title claim based on false maintenance and assumed abandonment. But he didn't know Dad had quietly made a second, legally binding document giving me sole ownership. That trumped everything else. And here's the real twist, because Craig filed a fraudulent claim on something he knew wasn't his, he could be hit with criminal charges for malicious prosecution. But that wasn't all. The investigator called me again the next day. I found something strange, he said. You're not gonna like it. He sent me photos from the Airbnb profile's private inbox. He'd managed to get access through a dummy guest profile and a loophole in the listing software. Craig had been messaging buyers. He wasn't just planning to rent it. He was planning to sell the cabin to someone overseas. He told a British couple the place was family-owned for 40 years, and that he had a private buyer's deed. That's what clicked for me. He knew about the second deed. He must have known. Maybe Dad told him about it years ago, and Craig thought it had disappeared when Dad died. Or maybe he went looking for it and couldn't find it. That would explain the break-in, the trash drawers, the ripped couch cushions. He wasn't trying to scare me. He was looking for the deed, and he almost found it. I had no doubt now, if he had gotten his hands on it, he would have forged his name and sold the place out from under me. I went quiet after that. Didn't text him. Didn't reply to his voicemails. I just waited. Then, one night, I got a message from an unknown number. Meet me at the cabin. No lawyers. Just us. One last talk. I sat with it for a while. Then I texted back. Fine. Tomorrow. 9 p.m. bring everything. I didn't go in blind. I wore a wire. Had a friend from the sheriff's office sitting a few driveways down, out of sight. The cabin had cameras now too, motion activated. My lawyer knew where I was. So did Tessa. Craig showed up 5 minutes late. He looked like shit. Hair messed up. Eyes bloodshot. Stunk like beer and sweat. You lied to me, he said right away. No, I said. You lied to yourself. He laughed. Dad was always on your side. You were his little project. His good son. He left you everything. No. He left us both something. I respected it. You tried to steal it. He stepped closer. You think this is over? I'll find a way. I always do. No, Craig. You won't. I pulled the deed from my jacket pocket. Held it up. This is the original. Signed. Notarized. Sealed in a federal box. And now? It's recorded. You're done. His face went pale. His lips moved, but no words came out. Then he snapped. Lunged at me. Grabbed the deed. We struggled. He ripped the paper, but I let him. I let him tear it. Because I already had 4 copies filed, backed up, and registered. And the cameras caught everything, including his assault. I hit the emergency call button on my phone. The deputy pulled up 40 seconds later. Craig was still yelling when they cuffed him. You think this is justice? You think this is fair? I didn't say a word. He got into the back of the cruiser, breathing hard. Face red. Eyes wild. He didn't know it yet. But this wasn't even the end. It was only the start of what was coming for him. After Craig was arrested, the formal charges came quick. Trespassing, mail theft, identity fraud, assault, filing false documents with intent to defraud. The sheriff's office already had enough from the cabin's cameras and the mic I wore that night to move forward. But what really broke the case was the video from Dad and the forged change of address form Craig filed with the post office. The federal charge of mail tampering was the nail in the coffin. Still, even with all that stacked against him, Craig pled not guilty. His public defender argued mental stress, a bad divorce, emotional breakdown, said he wasn't in his right mind. That's when my lawyer dropped the final piece of evidence, Craig's rental income records. He wasn't just confused. He had a business plan, a written one, emails to buyers, texts to the realtor about projected profits. He planned all of it, carefully, for months. He wasn't sick. He was greedy. The judge gave him 3 years. Not just for the fraud, but because of how much he lied, how many systems he tried to game, and how far he pushed it. They marched him out of the courtroom in cuffs. He glanced back once. No words. Just a long, bitter stare like it was still my fault. It was over. Mostly. I got the cabin. Fully, legally, and with zero contest. My lawyer even managed to push a civil judgment against Craig for damage to the property and emotional distress. He owed me $62,000. He didn't have it. He probably never would. But what he did have? A reputation. Or he used to. The entire case went public because of the real estate fraud. A local paper did a full story. Man tries to steal brother's inherited cabin, gets caught in Airbnb scam. His photo was right there, front page of the Sunday section. Mugshot and all. It went viral in our town. His old co-workers shared it. Even his ex-wife posted it with the caption, "Told you." But here's the twist. I didn't walk away clean. Not because I did something illegal, but because I let the whole thing rot me from the inside. I stopped trusting anyone. I pushed my girlfriend away. She'd stuck with me during the worst parts, even brought me food when I stayed up late reviewing court documents. But one night she said, "You're always angry now, even when you're winning." I told her I needed time. She said, "You need a therapist." I didn't call her back. I spent the first few weeks alone in the cabin. Just cleaning, repairing, trying to breathe. Then one morning I opened the mailbox and found a letter. No return address. Just my name. Inside was a handwritten note. "He got what he deserved. But so did you. Now you're alone with your victory. How's it feel?" It wasn't signed, but I recognized the handwriting. It was Tessa. She'd been watching the whole time, helping at first, then backing off after the trial. But now I realized she hated both of us. Craig for what he did to her. Me for how far I let it all go. She was right. I won. But I didn't feel good. I stood outside on the deck that morning, looking out at the trees Dad used to walk through every day, and I asked myself, what did I protect? Not a cabin, not a building, but a place. A place he tried to poison. A place I still wanted to mean something. So I started over. I fixed the fireplace Craig trashed. Rebuilt the mantle myself. Took down every photo he'd put up. Put back the old ones, me, Dad, Mom. Even one of Craig from before he lost his way. Then I added something new. The charred mail. I framed the best preserved piece and hung it above the mantle. Not as a trophy, as a reminder that good people don't always win clean. Sometimes they win by crawling through the dirt, while everything burns around them. And sometimes the real revenge is being the only one left standing.